In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to create a node template. First, we have to open our connection. We're going to connect to our World Cup database. This is the database with information about Women's World Cup soccer. Now, we created a project earlier, so we'll go ahead and open that project. And if you remember, we've reverse engineered to get these existing node templates and relationship templates. We created a template diagram. I'll go ahead and open that. But now what we want to do is define a new node template. Now, node templates aren't specific to Neo4j. There is no concept of a create node type or create node template. This is what your design model in NodeEra does for you. It allows you to define what a particular type of node will be like. There's two ways to create a new node template. We can click this button here, Add New Node Template, and then click the diagram to put it on a diagram. Or we can go to the tree view for the project. We can right-click Node Template and say Add New Node Template. Either way, we'll get the editor to create a new node template. I'm going to go ahead and add it to this diagram. So here's our node template editor. The first thing we need to do is give our template a name. So what we're going to do is create a node type for countries, because we want to track which country a player is from. So we give it a name. First step is to create a label. So we add, and our label is going to be country. We're going to mark it required. We have to have at least one label be required for a node type because we need to know the labels identify the type of node. And NodeEra will use this information to generate cipher statements for us. The next step, what kind of properties do we want? So we'll add a property. And let's add the ISO code to character. Data type will be string. We want it to be required. And again, similar to labels, required is a notion that NodeEra uses when it generates cipher code for you. These checkboxes over here, exists, unique, and node key, they indicate whether this property participates in one of these constraints. And we'll talk about how to create constraints in another minute. For now, let's give it the ISO code. Let's add another country name, which is kind of the common name. And this gives us enough information to start. So now we've defined a node template for countries. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And here it is on our diagram. You'll also see that it's been added to the tree view. Now let's do some more refinement to this definition of this node template. Double-click on it to open it. How about constraints? Let's add a node key constraint. So we pick the constraint type, we pick the label, and then we pick the property list. Now a node key can have multiple properties, so you get this nice editor. We're just going to have one property in our node key. So we pick it, and now we've got our constraint definition for a node key. Also notice it created an index. So now you see that it's going to create an index on this label and this property. Auto-generated yes means that Neo4j will create this index for you automatically by virtue of creating this node key constraint. Now you can create additional indexes if you like. So let's go ahead and click Add. So this will auto-generate it as no because we're creating this one ourselves. So we're going to use the country label. And this time we want an index on country name. So now we've defined our own custom index. So that's how constraints are defined for the template. Later you'll use the forward engineering to actually generate the constraint statements. Let's move on to description. Here we can type in a brief description of what a country is. In the section below, it will generate more descriptive information. For every label for your labels and properties, you can enter descriptions and they will display here, along with any relationships you've defined. Right now, this country entity or node template doesn't have any relationships, so there's nothing to show here. Formats lets you control how the entity, the node template, will appear on the diagram and how instance nodes that are based on this template will appear in an instance diagram. So if we click Custom Format, Define Format, and we can give it a fill color and a line color. Let's just go ahead and we'll just pick a light blue, leave the line width the way it is. And the same thing with instance node. We'll go ahead and define a fill color. So this gives you a little bit of visualization control. And we'll see that when we look at the diagrams. Finally comes the Data tab. When you click on the Data tab, it runs a query using this definition that you've created. It runs a query and it retrieves every node that matches this definition. And of course, we don't have any because we haven't entered any. But we can go ahead and do that right here. We can create a new node or we can delete existing ones. Let's go ahead and create a new one. So NodeEra gives you this form. The label is going to be there. You can't, since it's required, you have to have it. Let's enter US for our 2-character and United States for the name. Click Add New Node. All right, it's created. Now if we want, we can add another one. GB, Great Britain. Okay, so let's go ahead and close. It reruns the query, and you can see we've now added 2 nodes to the database. Now we've completed all of the tabs and all of the things that you can do to define a node template. So we'll just go ahead and say OK. And here's our node template on the diagram. You'll notice it has the color we selected, and it also tells you which labels and properties are part of node keys. And here it tells you that this property has an exists constraint, which you get by virtue of creating a node key property. So that's how to define a node template starting from scratch. The next video will describe how to define relationship templates, and I would encourage you to watch that one as well.